Okay, I think let's kick off. Welcome back, everybody, to the sixth session of the Auditors Workshop. This is the last in the series of auditor training workshops. And I'm glad to see some familiar names on the screen and some new names on the screen. And for those of you that were not able to attend previous sessions, Nicola, you mentioned that you weren't able to join in some of the previous sessions. Simone has popped the link in the chat, and the web recordings of the previous sessions are also available for you. So don't feel stressed if you've missed anything. You will be able to catch up on the previous workshops there. And today's workshop we will also publish on the website. So also for your future use, if you'd like to refer back to it. So just to remind everybody where we are in this journey, these are the sessions that we have already covered. A principles session in session 1 covered some documentation and getting into the structures and processes a bit deeper in the second session. Session 1 and 2 were quite long sessions and covers quite a lot of the high-level principles, principles and processes. Then session 3 covered the introduction of the platform, roles and permissions, the auditor dashboard, and just an overview, like a starting point of the ICS platform. Then our fourth session was regarding auditing of component methodologies. The session on Tuesday covered the auditing or validation of a project. And today we will be covering the auditing or verification of a project once the monitoring period has been completed and the monitoring report is therefore available. So just briefly, the agenda, I will be taking you through the monitoring report on the platform, and then we'll go in a bit deeper to look at how to navigate to data that has been captured on the ICS platform for various monitoring periods, including where data has come through with an IoT device. And then we'll also look at some other information that is accessible on the platform, and just methods on how you as an auditor can provide feedback on these various items. And so just to again position us on a high level of where we are in the project's life cycle as a role of the auditor and how the other roles fit into this picture. We are looking at project verification. So this assumes that the project has gone through the selection of relevant component methodologies. They have completed their project report. The project has been registered on the ICS platform. The project has been validated, and the project has now been operational for a while. And now the point where we are is where the project owner is requesting a monitoring report where a monitoring period has basically been completed and data has either been entered onto the ICS platform through a IoT device or manual data or a combination of both. And hence the monitoring report that is generated through the ICS platform is now available for the auditor to audit and approve or review and basically comment and go through the auditing process before we can then eventually issue some inclusive carbon credits. So with that in mind, I'll just remind you about our homepage and the platform, and then let's get straight into the audit here. So again, from the home page, we can click here on platform registration and login, and this will take you straight to the ICS platform homepage, where you can then basically, if you have registered already, and hopefully everybody on the call has had the chance to register, you will be able to fill in your credentials and log in to arrive here. I am Mr. Auditor Authorizer, since we are on our demonstration site, and you will arrive on the auditor's dashboard. And this will look familiar to those that have been in the previous workshops. And a reminder on our journey where we were previously, we have covered the methodology approvals. On Tuesday, we covered validation audits up on top here. And today we are speaking about verification audits. So again, the verification audits can be found on the home page through this link over here, or again on the left-hand side, you can navigate to audits and just click on verification audits if you'd like to see only those type of audits under your company. So we have two audits sitting here for the same project, and I'm going to use these as a demonstration. You can see on your dashboard, you will have audit statuses. And just to give you an example here, or to remind you what the different statuses are, if nothing has happened and the audit has just been submitted, if I can say freshly submitted, then it will still show the audit status as draft. And this applies to verification audits as well. Or it will give the other relevant statuses depending on where in the life cycle of the audit the audit is at the moment. So under our verifications here, we have an audit that is already approved and one that has gone through one round and was sent back for revision. So from here, again, we can go in and do all those items that we previously could do on the validation audits and component methodology audits as well. We can view the project, and this is where we find an overview of the project. This will actually take you to the project dashboard. So you will be able to see the data points measured, any calibrations that are due, some high-level project description and key details. Here we can see the status that the verification period is complete, the registration dates, sectoral scopes, and some other notes. And this is an example project. And you can again navigate to the project report. And I'll quickly touch on that again, just as a reminder, and for those that weren't in our previous sessions. Here you can navigate online to the different project information sections. So you can have a look here, description of the project, technologies employed, and this basically gives you a static view of the complete project. So in the project view, if you are looking at your project through the project view button, this is where you have or get an overview of the project. Similarly, all 4 component methodologies that are selected to form a complete project, or at least 4 will appear, and this will be the project details, a baseline, additionality, and monitoring and evaluation component methodology. There might be, in the case of land projects, a leakage or permanence methodology might also appear here, and in some cases there might also be a tagging portion that appears here under the project, the complete project. But again, parameters and equations, when we really get into the nitty-gritty of the beauty of the ICS for automating calculations pertaining to emissions reductions or sequestration, the project data is all handled through the platform, and there should not be a need to view or manage anything offline or in a different location than on the platform. So with that said, if we are going back to our verification page, we have sufficiently viewed the project just to get an overview and maybe as a starting point to get to grips with what the project looks like, because we want to just be reminded of what we are looking at and things we want to look out for when we are now looking at the verification audit. Then we can come back here and get into actually doing the audit. So we'll click on View Audit, and again here you can navigate to the View project page from here as well, and you can download all the project documents. I will click on this in a moment. Once you are done going through the process, and even when you are midway through the auditing process, at any time you can download auditor comments. I will click on this and have that downloaded for us to look at in a moment. But it's also handy to keep track of where you are, should you be working on this and then come back to it at a later stage. So if we are looking at this now from the verification perspective, you can see that we have the general project setup here, and then we only have the monitoring and evaluation component methodology, because that is really the section or component methodology and data that we are interested in this part of the project life cycle. So again, these buttons here on the right hand side where it says review, you can click on those, and in each section or subsection, the question and answer will appear according to how the project owners have completed this. And you as an auditor have then the ability to write a comment about whatever appears on the left-hand side, and you can mark this then accordingly either as approved or rejected, or if you haven't actually looked at this portion yet and you're undecided and want to come back to that, you can still leave it as undecided. And also then note the appropriate action that is required. And here is where the comments will speak to whatever is also marked here as the action that is required. So again, this will mimic the structure of the monitoring and evaluation component methodology and the information that the project owner has supplied for this. And a reminder right at the bottom, an overall comment section is also there. And you can see here, our auditor has written here that there was no changes observed from the registered project summary. But here it's really a space just to put any comments or questions that did not perhaps find a space in the relevant section or question sections above. Right, so if we are now looking at the data and devices, this project has an IoT connected device. So here you can see the parameter called electricity generated is measured by this Wabbit IoT gateway device. The serial number appears over there, and the baseline electricity consumption you can see here is measured by the same device with the same serial number. So when we go and view that, you will be able to find some additional information about this connected device, and the documentation here regarding that IoT device will be available for your download. So once again, everything is really captured in one place. And as an auditor, you can then comment here and make any relevant comment about this IoT device, its API serial number, perhaps the documentation is missing or it's not showing you exactly what you'd like to see. And then this is where you can add that comment, and this will then be available for the project owner to look at. So that's regarding our device. Now, this project doesn't have any calibration events yet, but the ICS platform does make availability for calibration events and delayed calibration. And should those events be required, this will also be or appear in this section. So another thing that is really captured on the system itself, and there's no need for this either to be managed in any other way than through the platform. So if we look at our electricity generated, and we want to now have a look at the actual data. If we go down here to our input parameters and constants in the monitoring report, you can see this input parameter here on the left, the electricity generated. It is an input parameter. There's a description. It's the electricity generated by the project and displacing grid electricity. And you can see here the number of data points captured. If you look at the grid emission factor, it's a constant. And so it is expected that in this case, and the way that this project is set up, that there would only be one data point under the grid emission factor. But if we go and look at our electricity generated, you can see that there's quite a number of data points captured over here. So if we go and view the data, you can basically see that the parameter set captures this electricity generated in half-hour increments, and hence the large amount of data points that have been captured. But as an auditor, you will be able to have a look at each and every data point, and not necessarily in this fashion, but let me show you the other method to also view this. So if we go and click on view all data points, you will see we are still dealing with the same parameter here, the electricity generated, but here you can now also see all the information pertaining to that parameter. It's an IoT device here. The calibration procedure is according to the manufacturer's specifications. And now we have either a table and graphed data. So we can see here there's nothing happening in the early values captured. But if we page through to subsequent pages, you can see, let's go to page 4. You can see that the data is coming through there, and you can see this then in the table or graphically as well, and all the data sits there for review. The other thing that is handy to, or a different way to look at and also handle the data if you really want to scrutinize it, is to also download the data. So if we click on download, I've done that just prior to the call, because this can, if there's a large amount of data, it can take a minute or two. But basically, it then provides you with the Excel file that gives you a CSV file of the data. And I mean, if we just go simply and do a text to column separation of the data, yeah, that's comma delimited. And we just make this a bit larger. You can see there, you will also have the ability to, if you want to do spot checks or do your own graphs, you'll have that ability through downloading the data also onto an Excel file. The other thing that is really handy is that should you find a data point that looks suspicious to you, or you want to scrutinize a specific data point, you can also go and view the history. And you will see here that it tells you changes made to this data point and that there are no changes recorded. You can see here it says notes. Any data changes will be shown to the auditor. So because the project also, or the project owners do have the ability to go and enter some of the data points manually, the platform logs all activity related to all input parameters. So at any point, if a data has changed, a log will be available, and you as an auditor will be able to see if any changes have been made. Right, so this is theoretically also still a long process, but hopefully, and maybe we can get some comments from our participants in the workshop, it should be quicker than the traditional methods because we have a single points of entry of data, and there's no multiple Excel files and sheets, and the space for human error is just minimized quite substantially. So let's just quickly navigate back to our verification audit. I'm looking here at the project again, because again, what we want to do right at the end, when we've completely gone through the review, we've reviewed all the data, we are happy with either our comments and the feedback, or we are just happy with the actual inputs, then we can again download the auditor's comments, and that will provide a PDF document. See, I've downloaded this a few times, and this will give an output of the verification audit basically. So again, it'll provide every section with the comments as they were also provided on the platform. So here you can see on our monitoring plan the comments that were submitted through the platform. So
Sorry.
I'm just going to...
Sorry.
Yeah.
We have a question from
Okay, great. I was about to pause.
Is it possible to filter the dates in a period in the platform, or downloaded Excel sheet is used for it?
Yes. Oh, so let's go back there. That's a good question. Thank you. So let's go back to our electricity generated. All right. I want to look at the data. All right. Electricity generated. Sorry, my laptop is sounding like it's taking off here for a moment. There we go. So when you say download data, you can here select the date range for which you want to download the data, and it will give you that specific date range. So that's definitely something that is possible, and you can set that according to which date range you basically want. So that's going to take a while, but hopefully that answers the question. Let me just stop sharing here for a minute and hear if there are any other questions or maybe feedback from the rest of my team if I've missed anything.
Maybe if I can just give some input from the data side. So in the data that we saw there, you saw that the numbers were 0 and then they started going up, and that's because it's a solar project. And what's happening at night time, there's no generation, and then the generation starts increasing from about 6 in the morning. So it's just to give some background to the data that we saw.
Awesome, thanks, Philip. I want to also put a teaser out to this audience. Just so the ICS takes manual input for data that might not be able to be captured through IoT devices, and it also takes then IoT connected device inputs. But we will also be hosting a future workshop where we talk about landmark values, and hopefully this is something that you remember from previous workshops and workshops in the beginning of all the launch of the ICS. And this is basically where if we take the grid emission factor as an example, where a value that can be used in a project has gone through auditing and verification through a different project, and it is saved in the ICS platform as a landmark value. So other projects would be able to use that, and it basically saves a bit of auditing burden because it's then an already validated and verified value that other projects can use. But we will have a separate workshop on this, including both component methodology developers, project developers, and our auditing community to go through that comprehensively. But just as a teaser of another workshop that will come at some point in the future. Otherwise, are there any other questions, feedback, things that you'd maybe like to learn more of? Please, let us know now or send us an email, and we'll definitely try and help you. Okay, if there's nothing else, then I'm going to thank everyone again for a short and sweet session. If you haven't registered yet, please register. We are going to make, or we've been talking about providing a space for everybody to basically practice. I think, Hava, that was your or Essen's comment from Tuesday. That was one of the ideas that came out of the session last week. And we have been speaking about that. So that is also something that is under the coming soon banner. And we will send an email out to everybody once that is ready. And then you can go and, as they say, get your fingers dirty and give us some feedback and see how you find it. But thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful Thursday.
Thanks, Irina.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.